Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse, Frugally. Today I have several flips that you are not even going to recognize. They have come out so different. I'm starting with this dump find, which was a mirror. May have been in a child's room because it had nail polishes on it. So I took the mirror out, cleaned the whole thing, and had to take some nail polish remover to get some of the bumps and lumps off. And then once I was done, I painted the mirror in white chalked paint, and I painted the frame here in, I believe is Silver Sage by either Glidden or Sherwin-Williams that I had for quite some time now, left over from a room that was painted in this color. And I love this color. It is so beautiful, and it is working perfectly as a latex paint to cover over this item. Once that paint was completely dry, I went into the stash that I have of some pieces and parts of some IOD transfers left over, and I had a little bit of lavender, a little bit of a white rose, some pink peonies, and I had one bird. So I decided to just transfer over the painted mirror piece of this, and then I did scratch it, so I just kind of covered it with an extra piece of leaf. And then once I was finished with that, spray it with a 2 times clear matte finish from Rust-Oleum just to keep that. And that is all there is to it. I think that it came out adorable. It really looks much more cottage now and much nicer than what it was. So let me know what you think of that. Now, I think my favorite might be the last two today, but I love this cute little picture, kids in the bath. Somebody did a pen and ink, and it is adorable. I'm going to keep it for a future project, but I am going to use this frame and the round double mat. If you've been following me, you know I've been doing watercolors in my bedroom. So I just printed out a new watercolor that I got free at the Graphics Fairy on rice paper and put it right in that double mat, and then painted the frame and distressed it back with a little baby wipe just to bring out some of the silver, because in my room I have a number of watercolors and I have been trying to make a wall of them, and most of the frames either have silver or gold peeking through. For now, I am still waiting to paint the wall, so I just propped that up on my dresser, and that is all there was to this one. Very, very simple. That takes me on to another couple real simple ones. This little bunny you may have seen in my Stowe, Vermont haul. It is in need of a paint job. Is cute as it is. It had a little scary look to it with those dark, dark eyes. So I decided to coat the entire thing. Is, I believe, linen, the color that I am using. And then once it was dry, I went right over the glass eyes, and then I took some of my antiquing wax mixed with clear wax and put that on and wiped it back, just trying to get some of the fur to show up, some of the little creases and such. This didn't work as well as it normally does, so I don't know why I was having so much trouble, but I took a little bit away from the eyes just so some of the eyes would show through. And it looks better than it did. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's okay. It certainly goes with the colors that I decorate with, and you can never go wrong with a bunny, so I think that it's quite sweet. That takes me on to another very simple one. My husband had picked up this clock, I believe, at the dump, and I was just going to send it back to the dump because it's really not something I would typically do with that big flower in the center. But I decided, since I was doing a couple real simple ones, that I would just take a piece of IOD transfer that I had left from quite a long time ago, and I had just this little bit left, so I decided to just put it in the center. It's mostly script, and then to just take some of that same antique wax mixed with clear wax, and I just went over the entire exterior of the clock, which is plastic, but it did pick up and make that nice antiquing vintage look in the creases of that clock on both the inside and outside edge, and then just kind of made it look a little bit more in the cream tones instead of bright white, which does go better in my home. And before I finish my last two, my favorite ones, if you like shabby or cottage, you are going to want to check out Curly Willow Acres. Corinne is new to YouTube and has a beautiful channel. She has a farm, she has a gorgeous decorating style, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So go over there and show her some love and let her know that I sent you. And then if you saw my recent haul from the dump, I'm not even sure if I've posted that yet. I got this adorable little wooden plaque with a key on it. Now, the key had already been hot glued, so I asked my husband to do something a little more substantial, so he used some better glue to get that to stay together while I was taking the rest of this apart. I like primitive country, but I wanted to do something a little bit more in lines with vintage cottage feel for this video, so I just took that same linen colored chalk paint and went over the whole thing. And then I really only needed one good coat of that. And then once that whole thing was dry, then I took out my kind of a sepia colored ink to keep this matching the next piece that I'm going to make. These two together I think are quite sweet. And I just went ahead and took a little script Paris stamp that I had and stamped first in the center of this, and then I took out these really small transfers that I had gotten on Amazon, and I had lots of little bits and pieces left over from a different project, and I wanted those things that matched that sepia brown color. So there were a couple of roses and a couple of other florals and other things that sort of went with this and made it look a little bit vintage. And then once that is finished, then I took my same antique wax and clear wax mix that I just did on the clock, and I went around the outside edges and kind of slightly over the top of this to make this kind of more a shabby chic vintage feel. And then once that key was ready, I used some wire, went through the same holes, and just attached the key right on top, and then added a little piece of lace that I had in my stash to give this just a more shabby chic look, which I really love, but I especially love with my last piece that I'm doing here, and I think the two together came out really awesome. Now, I had picked up this jewelry box, which looks brand new, for $2 at the flea market in Stowe, gave it a good cleaning, and then took the little knob off of the drawer and went ahead and painted the whole thing in that linen color. One, to match the interior, two, to make it more neutral, and three, because I think it's a lot harder to sell something that's navy blue than it is to sell something that's cream. It goes pretty well, I think, cream with most people's decor. Now, this did take 2 full coats because that blue was kind of a very dark color. So once I had that completely painted with 2 coats and thoroughly dried, I just took my razor, cleaned up the glass, and then once that is finished, I pulled out if you saw any of my fruit videos, you saw that I had purchased these Sweet Apricot is the name of the redesign transfer, and I had a couple pieces left over, and I've used them mostly for the fruit, but I had an idea with this one, since it also had that Paris and it had the neutral colors, to cut along the orange slice and take that piece away so that it didn't quite look like fruit, but maybe looked a little bit like moonlight. That was kind of the feel that I was going for. I'm not sure if I achieved it. You'll have to let me know. And I know that anytime you attach a transfer to something as uneven as this, it is going to split. But that was fine by me. I didn't mind that since I'm going for the vintage look here. But I did have to go very slowly up over the hump and the edges of each of this. And then little by little, I did cut away some of the backing just so that I could work with a small section of the transfer at a time. And once I had that completely done, the first half, then I actually cut it and then attached it, trying to line up the two pieces just to make it a little bit easier to get that down all the way around the edge. So then I attached the rest of the transfer, and then once the entire thing is finished, then I took out that same antique wax and clear wax to give this more dimension. If you're looking at this piece, it has those details on it, but you don't really see it now that the entire thing is all in the same linen color. So the antique wax really has a tendency to bring that out and also to add that real vintage look. So I did give the entire box that coat of wax, and I even went over the transfer a little bit just to protect it, staying off of the glass. So once I wiped that wax back, then I think that it really was giving me the look that I was going for, and I put that little key plaque in the drawer just to give you an idea what those two look like together, and just staged that as a little bit of a tea party. So I think that came out really adorable. For $2 on, nothing for the key, that was free at the dump. $2 for the jewelry box, and these two together I think really did come out very sweet. I think the transfers were about $1 a piece for me because I got them at about 65% off. So I would say this whole flip was, $3, $3.50 to do all of it, and I think that it came out adorable. So I'd love to know which is your favorite today. I thank you for stopping by. Please make sure that you hit subscribe if you haven't. I really would love that. If you would like to buy me a cup of coffee, I will leave the information in the description box. And I thank you for stopping by. Take care. I'll see you soon.